Continuing on into section 12, we'll implement the functionality for the user to be able to see all images marked as favorites. The images will be displayed based on the keyword used to search for them. First, we'll add a link to See Favorites, which will be the page where we'll actually view our favorites. When clicking on it, a new view will display the list of keywords used to search for images marked as favorites. The keywords are stored in the database. When clicking on any of the keywords, all favorite images corresponding to that keyword will be displayed. A favorite icon will be displayed next to the image for the user to remove it from the favorites list if they choose so. The first step we're going to do is we're going to add the See Favorites link to the results view. So we're going to want to open our results.ejs file and add the following link here. So we're going to want to go ahead and add it just below our button here. We'll want to include a line break beforehand and go ahead and set our reference to the keywords route, which we have not set up yet. And then we'll go ahead and label it See Favorites. So right now, if we went ahead and opened up our site and searched for a keyword, we'll see it here. Depending on what background image you get, it may be difficult to read, but don't worry about that now. We're going to go ahead and style the link later. So we're going to use the new Get Keywords route to get the list of keywords added to the database. So we're going to want to go back to our code, and we're going to want to add the Get Keywords route in app.js. It can be added as the last route right below the Update Favorites API route. As part of the route, we'll use distinct in the query to avoid getting duplicated keywords. So if I just go ahead and copy this in really quick. So here, our SQL query or script is select distinct keyword from favorites and order by the keyword. In line 51, we are using the pool constant that refers to the database pool that we created within the dbpool.js file. We're executing the select statement. All records retrieved are stored in the rows parameter, which we're displaying in the console for debugging purposes on line 53 here. You can comment the console log line out once you've confirmed that the route is working properly. In line 54, we're rendering a new view called Favorites, which we'll also need to create next. We're passing the list of non-duplicated keywords as well as the image URL array variable, which contains the image we'll use as the background for this view. Feel free to use any other background you want for this view. So something I already actually have done inside our views folder, we're going to go ahead and create a new file, favorites.ejs. Inside of here, we're going to want to paste a lot of the same code as the other views, including our partial files here at the top and bottom. In line 9, we're looping through all rows retrieved from the database, which include the non-duplicated keywords. In line 11, we display the keywords within an A element and use a common CSS class for all of them, which in this case is keyword link. We'll add a click event to this class later on. In line 13, we include a ternary operator to display a line break every 5 keywords. Going on to line 17, we include a div container, which is a placeholder for the favorite images. And then in line 19, it is a hidden form element that we will use to temporarily store the value of the keyword the user clicks on. This will help us to implement the functionality to re-add an image as a favorite after it's deleted from the database. So now we're going to want to go ahead and make sure all our files are saved. I'm going to go ahead and run, give a refresh. And if we go ahead and click on the See Favorites link, the favorites view is now rendered. The keywords used to search for the favorite images should be displayed as links. So here we have my most recent ones that search, just car, cat, and XYZ. Nothing is happening yet when clicking any of these keywords. So we'll need to add the corresponding event listener next. Going back to the code, we'll go to our functions.js file. And we're going to want to include an event listener for clicking on any element within the keyword link class and keyword link. So let me grab that really quick. We're going to copy that into here really quick. And I'm just going to realign this. And I only tab down just to match the line numbers for now from the documentation, the written form. This white space realistically isn't necessary, and you probably wouldn't want to have it in general. But just for demonstration purposes and me reading through, I'm going to have it on the exact line numbers. So on line 30, we're getting the content of the link the user is clicking on and storing it into the keyword local variable. On line 31, we're setting the value of the hidden form element we included in the favorites.ejs file, assigning it to the value of keyword, which the keyword that it was clicked on by the user. And it's important to note that instead of using a hidden form element, we could have used a local storage or a global variable. In line 32 to 48, which is our Ajax call, we're making the Ajax call, which is using the API get favorites URL, which is a route we need to also create. The API will return all image URLs for the specified keyword from our database and then display all of them along with a favorite icon within the div ID div line. The container that was the container which we included in the favorites.ejs file. Now going back to staying in the functions JS file, we're going to want to add a new event listener for when clicking on any favorite icon that was dynamically added as a result of the Ajax call from the previous step. Even though all favorite icons added include a class called favorite icon, the event listener we currently have will be ignored because it would only apply to elements that were already there after loading the page, not to dynamic elements which were added after the page was loaded. To add an event listener to dynamic content, it must be attached to an existing element. So in this case, in line 53, we are going to want to add an event listener for the favorites. Let me just tab this over. Okay, so right here in line 54, we're attaching it to the div tag we have in our results file using the favorites ID here. Also notice that the favorite icon class is being passed as a second parameter here. In line 60, we're retrieving the keyword value that we had temporarily stored in the hidden form element, and we're passing it to the update favorite existing function for the keyword to be stored in the database. Now we're going to want to go ahead and update our app.js file to include the new API get favorites route. We're going to want to go ahead that below our most recent route, and it actually looks like I already had it in here. I must have added it through testing. And so you'll want to go ahead and add it right below the get keywords route. This route will retrieve all image URLs from the database based on the keyword clicked on. So now we're ready to save all of our changes. And we're going to go ahead and looks like the app is now running again. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to go back to search. And I'm just going to search a new keyword. So we'll do dog. And let's go ahead and add a few of these. That is a fox, but I'll go ahead and like it. And then we'll go ahead and see favorites. So we'll see all the categories I had originally, and then I just searched dog. So we'll go ahead and look at that. We see the 3 images that I favorited. If I go to cats, we'll see another few that I have here. So important to test, if I go ahead and unfavorite this and go back to the cat category, it will no longer be there. And then if I was to unfavorite and then favorite again and went back to the dog, the image would still be there. And in this case, it was actually added to the end. So I believe if I reselect this one, now that one's added to the end there, but it's still in our favorites page. For section 13, our final section, we're going to be adding styles to the view. The app is now fully functional. A user is able to search for images based on keywords, mark some images as favorites, and display all favorite images by keyword. In this section, we'll improve the look and feel of the app by applying cascading style sheet rules, or CSS rules. The styles in this section are just suggestions. You are encouraged to apply your own styles. So I'm not going to really focus on the CSS rules too much. I'll just be copying and pasting them in and let you look at them and observe for a minute, and then you can honestly make whatever changes and style that you see fit. So the first thing we're going to want to do inside our publics and CSS folders, we're going to want to create the styles.css file. So we're just going to do a new file, give it styles.css. All right, with that created, we're going to want to come to our header file where I am now. And we're going to want to link that CSS file as the style sheet for the page. So we're going to use the link. We're going to reference it to our local file, which is in the CSS folder. And then the type this will be is a style sheet. All right. And then let's go ahead and open that styles.css file. And so just for some initial landing page styles, we're going to use this CSS here. So now we're going to want to just save and run the file, and we're expecting some index changes. So we just changed a lot with our main. This is just a lot of across the board changes for our main headers. And then for input and buttons, we're making changes. So if I go ahead and let's see if I'm good to go. Okay, so going here, we'll see that we do have some different styling. Everything, the buttons are changed, everything's a little bit bigger, and we kind of have this rounded edges box. So now we are going to want to modify our results.ejs file to add the ID and class attributes to some elements so we can apply styles to them. We'll also remove some elements not needed there. All right, so going down, we're going to actually remove the main tags here. We don't want the style to be affected by that, what we did to the landing page. And I believe we'll also be removing our header. We're just going to have it be the search at the top. So starting with our form here, to this A tag here, element here, we're going to want to add an ID for fav link, so we can use that in our CSS file. And then right under this line break here, we're going to, or the divider, we're going to add a div tag and set the ID of this to results container. And this way we'll be able to manipulate everything inside of this div. I'm going to go ahead and copy that closing tag, and just below here I'll be able to enter that there. So now we're going to go back to our style sheet, and we're going to make some changes with using the tags, the IDs that we well, the ID and the class that we just set. So we're making some changes to our borders for our images. For the ID of results container and favorites, we're doing some changes to the background color, how it's displayed, the padding to it. And then to both the fave link ID and the link, or let's see, so yeah, the fave link here and then our link class, I believe, we are going to change just the background color and some font. Let me double check one thing that I set here. I actually wanted to go ahead and set a class for this image here. And I want to go ahead and set that to class image. So that's affected at the top there. All right. So if I go ahead and refresh my page here, let's go ahead and look for Otter. And let's see what's going on here. Okay, I didn't get the changes I expected exactly. Let's see, is this updating? Okay, there we go. For some reason my style sheet wasn't updating, so I just copied everything in case it was lost and then closed out of it and forced it to save. So now we are getting this kind of background border that we were trying to get. Okay, and then the last file we're going to want to edit is our favorites.ejs file. We're going to want to go ahead and add style tags at the top here. So we can set some rules for the body that are specific to this one. All right. Just below this, we're going to want to also add another div tag with the ID fave container. And then we'll want to add this closing div brag tag here. And let me see really quick. Oh, I seem to have removed something accidentally earlier. I'm going to go ahead and add back in this div for favorites here. No worries there, but yeah, so I added my closing and starting tags for the div. And then the last thing we're going to want to do is set for this A element here, we're going to want to set the class to link. All right, and then finally we're just going to add a few more rules for the fave container ID and the keyword link class. And with those saved, let's go back to our image search, give it a refresh. And we should be able to go to our see favorites. And from here, if I choose cats, We'll see our cats in our grayed out background, as well as our lighter gray closer border here. That covers all of them.